positive vibes. Be your own kind of beautiful. This one is going to be a little tough for me to talk about because of the nature of it, I guess. It could go in multiple directions. I can look at it as uniqueness level, but also the, I guess, style of beauty that I create. So I'm gonna try to dwell on both of them. When I think of own kind of beauty, I look at it as I think I'm pretty self confident as I am already, and it took a long time for me to get here. And I think it's because I was having trouble embracing who and what I was. I was having trouble embracing the fact that I guess I was academically smart and actually trying to do something with it. I kept pushing myself down. I kept telling myself, well, just because on paper I have good grades, it doesn't need to amount to anything, something like that. And I guess it's because I just never enjoyed feeling that pressure of having more responsibilities. And I guess that began to make me feel a little ugly in the inside because I felt like I was denying myself, like I was just trying to turn down challenges, which I know I've never been someone to turn down challenges. And I guess because I realistically understood that me making it somewhere with my education was going to be pretty much impossible, I started to look at myself a little negatively. I thought of it as, well, because I'm going to stay on this level of society, I'm not gonna need to look fancy. I'm not gonna have to dress up or look very professional. I just gotta stay clean. And that's pretty much it. And then I said to myself, that actually works out for me perfectly because if I'm already a simple person who doesn't enjoy those things, I don't enhance my appearance because I don't feel I need to and I don't enjoy the process of it anyway, then why stress over it? I can say that when it comes to that, my identity as a member in society, what I am, what I am not, what I could have been, what I could have not been, all those things, I just look at it as, well, present me is just fine. Even through a mask, I still get compliments. Not as many, thankfully, as before, because some people just don't know how to handle saying a compliment and leaving it at that. You can tell that they're trying to like pick you up or something. Something crazy. I don't get it. But I enjoy that, those kinds of commentary that I have never really been looking for. And I honestly didn't welcome that often because I'm not someone who compliments like ever. Then I look at it as, okay, I mitigated something, took care of a problem. I want to hear compliments from people I know, from people I like, from people who are close to me, people I care about. And they never say the fucking compliments. So if they don't say it, validation from a stranger is not gonna work on me. What can I say? A stranger cannot give me validation, and it's not like validation is what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is like the reinforcement, the reassurance that I be looking good, something like that. But again, I can only feel its effect when it comes from loved ones. And unfortunately, the loved ones who surround me are such zombies that they never say anything. And by extension, I guess that also might have led to me not being someone who compliments often. I sincerely cannot tell you on that one. I'll try to think about it for a little while and see what I conclude. But I'm not sure if I would have been more complimentary if I would have received the compliments at home or if I would have been just about the same. I think it's nice to not do that anyway. I feel like even if I would have gotten it, I probably still would refrain from it only because I feel like you can only say that so much before it starts kind of getting annoying. It's like excess. Something in excess is going to make you sick. It is possible to tell someone something often enough, even if it's positive, that it can make them kind of sick of hearing it. Now, when it comes to my own signature, coming from myself and nothing else kind of beautiful, I always felt, you know what? There are some things that I gotta accept are gonna happen to me. Some of it is going to be things like weight fluctuations. I'm gonna gain muscle, lose muscle. I'm going to have good hair days, bad hair days. I may be bald one day at the rate that I'm shedding hair, probably from my health issues. I'm going to keep growing rupees on my forehead, all those things. But even then, I don't anticipate that my soul is gonna change. My attitude, the way that I behave, the way that I manifest to this day, if being severely depressed and miserable hasn't done that to me, I don't think that physical changes are going to intimidate me that much. I do get worried when I see something new come out. It's like, oh, what is that? Are you a friend or a foe? But I look at it as long as you're not hindering my ability to do things in my day, then I really don't care. The one thing I'm most comfortable with myself about, and I want to say happiest with, the one that I think that really shows my beauty, I guess, is my weird ability to help lift others, even if I can't lift myself. And the reason I say that is because I have had folks at work, given that it's the place I socialize the most, where individuals who I would expect wouldn't have self esteem issues have self esteem issues. And when I detect that and it's genuinely a nice person, and I feel like it's an injustice and it's unfair and shit like that, I will pull out my arsenal of weapons, either psychological, physical, whatever it takes to help elevate that person, because I know what it's like to be stuck in your own mind, having erroneous ideas, and for you to be trapped there so long that it begins to make your universe collapse in you. And I love observing the person rebounding, bouncing back. They have been rehabbed back to health. I have experienced that before. And I felt like when I was at my darkest, at my lowest, and I had a helping hand, I could see how I had like this glow to me. My skin looked better, my smile was brighter and wider, my energy was even higher, all those things. I have been able to give that to someone, like someone who shouldn't have self esteem issues. I'll have my little talk with them, I'll hang out with them more, I'll support them more, I'll be physically present with them more, I will be verbally telling them more reassuring things, but not just empty things. I will tell them whatever it is that I need to tell them that is encouraging or empowering, and I will back it up. And an example of this would be one of my managers. She was experiencing some challenges with herself about how she gets things done versus how others get it done. And I was like, you do know that when it comes to this aspect, this side of admin work between y'all, you're the best one, right? You're my favorite one, right? And let me tell you why. And basically, what happened was when it comes to managing the schedule, sometimes you need to make changes to it. And if the change involves me, I'm gonna make sure that I examine that schedule and I just make it work for all the parties involved. Do you guys remember when I said the other day I had to fight for that day that one of my coworkers asked me to switch? Well, what happened was I had the shift. My coworker wanted my hours. She wanted my entire shift. And I was like, hell yeah, take it. But my shift had a little bit of a variable, which was I wasn't just exclusively cashier, which is what my other colleague is as well. I had an additional job attached to it after a certain time. I think it was noon. And that's why I ended up going in at noon. My manager wanted to reject that request because my cashier colleague cannot do that. So I told her, I still don't see the problem because I'm not the only soul in this team. There are more people who you can shuffle around to make this happen. So whenever 12 o'clock comes around, someone else who is qualified and willing to perform self checkout can do it. What is the problem? If you're missing a body, what we can do is I will come in for 3 hours to extend my cashier shift and take over for who should have been cashier, and who should have been cashier will prefer to be performing the other job. Trust me. And the other job is a job that I can't do. It's SCO, self checkout. And you guys know that I can't do self checkout because clowns do not know how to keep their hands to themselves. They like to touch me, they like to rub on my fucking shoulder, do all crazy things, or they don't have a sense of moving out the way when I need to interact with the screen. And I don't like to do gymnastics to walk around them because they don't understand the concept of when I say, excuse me, don't take just one step, move your whole body. And I just don't like that. So if I'm going to be over there having a bad time, then I'm just not coming. So that's what I told her. I'm like, this is what we're going to do. Let's split it up like this. Basically, my coworker works my first 5 hours. I work the final three, and this other person works or you're gonna have a hole in the schedule. My coworker works until hour five. I will not come in for my remaining 3 hours. And the other person, what are you gonna do with him? Are you gonna leave him alone as a cashier, or are you gonna throw him at school and you will find yourself being a cashier, or how are we gonna do this? And she saw my point. She saw how I shuffled the schedule. I said, her 5 hours, me 3 hours, other clown, go. What is the problem? And she was like, I don't have any objections with that. I don't see the problem at all. And I'm like, exactly. I didn't think so. Execute it on the computer. And then when she did all that, at the end, I was like, see, this is why you're the better admin. Don't feel intimidated by the others who do things faster. Because if I would have attempted to have this conversation with someone else, that other someone else would have outright said no. And I would have been pissed off. And what's going to happen is I'm not going to come in at all. And she doesn't get that shift that she wanted. I'm going to be gone all day and nobody will cover me. And you'll have to call somebody in anyway. And the person who's probably going to come in anyway is going to be this person. And the other person is still gonna have to be kicked off from the register anyway. So see what I mean? You have me right here. This is called negotiation. For some reason, your counterparts get intimidated by that, but you don't. You stay there, we have this conversation, we pull out the paperwork, we discuss it back and forth, and we make it work. But with the others, I feel like I have to lose an arm and a leg and an eye and some of my teeth in order to express myself. And this is why you're the better admin, period. The reason they get things fast is because of how simplistic they are. They're sloppy. They're slackers, period. Don't compare yourself to slackers. Don't be intimidated by slackers. You produce better quality work. Why would you feel inferior by the work of a sloppy person and a slacker? That's like me saying, me with all the skills and experience that I have obtained, I'm going to be jealous of the person who's only been here for a year versus a veteran of 12 years. No, it doesn't work like that. So that's what I mean. Like, I can elevate someone, even if it sounds like I'm putting another person down. I'm not bringing that other person down. That other person had been down. So I'm describing it to someone so that they can see how they set each other apart. And that's what makes this other person beautiful in that instance. Like, you're more beautiful than you think. You're better than you think. I had to learn that. I had those issues. I, for some reason, could be convinced, or I guess bullied into believing that I wasn't good enough, or that there was something wrong with me when it was the other person who had shit wrong with them. So when I deploy my confidence, my influence, my power, my strength, my physical presence, and do things physically and incorporate my mind into it, I blow shit up. And I'm super proud of that. And another thing I did was I was able to catch on the schedule. I'm not a manager, I'm not an admin, but I noticed that one of our supervisors who's not trained yet for a specific job had been scheduled for a specific job the next day that they're not trained for, remember, and he was going to be by himself. So I was like, I'm compelled to ask, does this person have the training to do this job? And then my manager wasn't sure about that. And when that manager came in, he happened to be coming in a few hours. I was like, I'm gonna ask him. So I asked him, hey, do you have this skill? He said, never done it before. And I'm like, oh shit. So I went back to my manager and I was like, hey, so our dude doesn't have the training. What are we gonna do? Are we just gonna feed them to the sharks, or is someone coming in, or what's gonna happen? Because maybe you'll need to be on the phone with them or something if it's your day off or whatever. And what ultimately happened is she happened to come in and give him some, you could say, training on it. But it wasn't officially scheduled, so it was a little bit of a mess. But that same manager was thanking me for catching that because for some reason they hadn't caught that. And I said to myself, well, I gotta say that makes me feel good because usually I feel like I'm not that useful around here outside of what I physically do. But to be able to intrude into admin work and I'm not even qualified for that job because I don't have the skill, it's like, oh, all I had to do was use my power of observing. And because I observe a lot and I'm quiet a lot, there's a lot of processing that I have done in my mind. And now I'm embracing a role of using what I observe and weaponizing it a little bit, but for good reasons, not to create drama or fight people or put them in bad positions. If the situation calls for it, sure, I may need to deploy some attack tactic type of thing. But if not, then no. You see what I mean? And that is what I can say has been making me feel beautiful in recent times. I stay relatively fit, I stay focused, I stay clean, like my appearance, my body, I still take care of it as best as I can. I show up for my people, I help other people, and the only times I don't feel like I can live up to be my own kind of beautiful is when I feel tired. If I can maintain others, I need maintenance. And sometimes I feel like the amount of maintenance I get versus the one I put out is out of balance. That is sometimes when I start suffering. And when I start suffering, that's when I start feeling sad and having my little meltdowns, and self-esteem takes a hit and I get tired and I don't want to show up, and then that's when I stop being as beautiful. But everything is a cycle. Well, you guys, I hope that made sense. Like I said, this was going to be kind of hard for me to talk about because it's dwelling on beauty. The topic of beauty is complex enough for me to the point that I have never really tried to break it down. I have never tried to give beauty my own definition. So I tried to do this on the fly based off actual things that I see, do, am present at, and how I may see it manifest on others. This wasn't a very good topic for me, but I tried. All right, that's it. Bye. Let me know your thoughts.